Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Local 4 Live. Breaking news now out of Macomb County, Mount Clemens, where hundreds of nurses walking off the job, starting a 3-day strike. You're looking at video from earlier today before the actual strike happened. This is happening again at McLaren, Macomb, and Mount Clemens off of Groesbeck and Harrington. Our Priya Man is live there with what workers say why they say they're going on strike, and you're actually getting the hospital side of the story too. Hey, Priya.
Hey, good morning, Nick. Yeah, we've got both sides here. You know, a month ago we were over in Rochester at Henry Ford Health. Now we're here in Mount Clemens at McLaren Macomb. And I just want to show you, reinforcements continue to pour in. This strike started at 7 a.m. this morning. Folks have been parking a few blocks away and then making their way over here. In total, we're talking about 700 hospital workers, including 500 registered nurses and about 200 medical and lab technicians. Folks have been honking throughout the morning, clearly raising the spirits of folks who are here. I'm joined with Kelly Frisbee, who's been a nurse here for years. You've been a nurse overall for 34 years.
34 years.
What is this like for you to be out here today, and what are the issues that you're fighting for?
This is my second time, and every time it's for safe staffing.
Let's talk about those nurse-to-patient ratios. I know that was an issue that nurses in Rochester were concerned about.
Same thing. There's not enough staff. You can't do it with no aides, no hooks.
Can you give us a sense of what a regular shift is like for you?
A regular shift, you come in, you don't have any assistance, so you don't get your vitals done. You have to do them yourself. You have to do your patient assessments. You have 4 to 5 patients because they run you at the lowest matrix. There's no housekeepers, you have to do that. There's no kitchen staff, you got to do that. There's no secretary, so you're supposed to answer all the phones. I mean, it's just too much. You don't get any breaks.
Do you think nurses and patients are at risk?
Yes, 100%. That's the reason I'm out here.
And I've heard you kind of getting the crowd, energized and ramped up. You said it's your second time. Is it deja vu for you?
It is.
It is.
It's all the same issues.
Is that frustrating?
They want to worry about giving us more money. We don't want more money. We want safe staffing.
Yeah, you're fighting for nurse-to-patient ratios. I do know that some of those lab technicians and support staff have been talking about those poverty
They need
wages.
help too.
Yeah, that they're on Medicaid or SNAP benefits, and they're working here full-time in some cases. I do want to read a statement to you. We got this from the Detroit News. It was from the hospital that says, after years of negotiating and despite marathon negotiation sessions over the last week, OPEIU Local 40 walked away from negotiations with McLaren Macomb and have demonstrated no willingness to reach an agreement on reasonable and sustainable terms. What's your reaction to that?
I think it's garbage. Because they want to give money. They want to throw money at the problems to get it to go away, but it's not going to go away because we need safe staffing.
And I guess what I'm getting the sense is these are systemic issues.
Yes. I mean, if we don't have the safe staffing, we can't keep patients alive. I mean, it's safety for my license and their lives.
Do you think strikes like this, demonstrations like this are effective?
I do.
How long
I mean, the community needs to know what we're going through.
And you certainly are making your voices heard today.
Yes, we
Kelly,
are.
thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you.
And that strike started at 7 a.m. Let me just show you the crowd over here. It started at 7 a.m. this morning, and it will run through Wednesday, although nurses say they have been locked out through Saturday. So we will continue to follow this developing story. But again, you know, when we were in Rochester, that was about 100 nurses at Henry Ford Health. Here, we're talking about 700. So you can see just from a size perspective alone, there is just a massive crowd out here. Again, they walked off the job at 7 a.m. this morning. Reporting in Mount Clemens, I'm Priya Man. Nick, I'll send it back to you.
Hey, pretty quick question for you. I know originally it was scheduled, as you just mentioned, the strike until Wednesday, but you say locked out until Saturday. Does that mean the hospital has essentially took them off the schedule and they're not working until then, or are we still working out some of those details?
It really depends on who you talk to, but my sense is from talking to nurses right now, they feel like this is a retaliatory move to be locked out through Saturday, but they say they plan to be out here for the long haul, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens starting Wednesday. But all of these changes happening within the last day or so.
Gotcha. Okay, Priya, thank you so much. Live in Mount Clemens this morning. We're going to keep an eye on this all day long. I'm going to bring you updates over on clickondetroit.com. Well, if you're just joining us, hello and welcome to Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. We're streaming here on Local 4 Plus and on YouTube and clickondetroit.com to get you caught up with all the big news of the day. Outside of that strike in Mount Clemens, here's some of the other things we are watching in the next 2 hours. Detroit is about to announce a plan to increase the enforcement of the city's curfew on teenagers. This comes after recent shootings involving kids. We're talking with our crime and safety expert, Darnell Blackburn, about the curfew, the penalties, and trying to stay safe this summer. Also, we're getting some relief from the heat to start the week as we say good morning over in Ann Arbor. And then, do you wash brand new clothes before wearing them, Dana? Our stage manager, floor director, Dana?
What?
Do you wash your clothes before you wear them, brand new ones?
Yes.
She does. Okay.
But don't dry clean.
No for dry cleaning. We're going to talk to the folks at Consumer Reports about why they say you should be and the best detergents you should be using as well. Looking ahead to our headlines throughout Detroit and the country, topping our headlines this morning, Central Texas and a tragedy from what's being described as a 100-year flood. At least 81 people have been confirmed killed in these catastrophic flash floods. Many of them are children. Hundreds of first responders are still searching along the Guadalupe River this morning, hoping to find some of the missing still alive. Homes, cars, roads were washed away in just minutes. Saturday, this happened when the floods hit. Several of the victims were at an all-girls summer camp.
I mean, we've had flash flood warnings all day long today. And so there are more communities that are getting impacted. There are more communities essentially where the ground has been saturated and more people are under threat. So one, we're not out of the woods yet. And this may expand to other areas as well.
More than 100 air, water, and ground vehicles have also been sent to help in those rescue operations. The National Guard says slow-moving thunderstorms will bring even more rain and the risk of more flooding today to already saturated parts of Central Texas. The man accused of killing Detroit teen Neziah Harris will be in court soon. Jarvis Butts is facing multiple felonies in the teen's suspected death. Last week, the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office issued new charges against him. Those are for the sexual assault of a then 12-year-old girl at an Allen Park home back in 2013. His next hearing for the case connected to Neziah Harris, that starts in about an hour. 9 o'clock is when that's scheduled to begin. Well, a family through heartache saw a big show of support last night after a hit and run. Tia Robinson is still in a medically induced coma after being hit while crossing the street with her 3-year-old twins last Sunday. Her son Khalil died from his injuries. His twin sister Chloe is recovering at home. Well, this afternoon, Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan and Detroit Police Chief Todd Bettison will be discussing their plans to curb teen violence in the city. They say there has been a recent uptick in teen violence stemming from teens and parents disregarding curfew laws. Well, take a look at this map. We pulled this off the Detroit Crime Viewer app, asking for homicide since May 1st of this year. There's been 34 of them you can see all over the city of Detroit. I do want to be clear here. Not all of these involve kids or teens, but if you pay any attention to headlines, you know too many kids have been shot this summer and some have died. Last month, there was that shooting over at Skinner Park on Meringue. A 4-year-old boy and an 18-year-old were both shot and killed. Another 17-year-old was shot. Then there was that shooting on Mark Twain where 2 siblings were shot. A 15-year-old died. A 13-year-old girl was hurt. On July 2nd, a 17-year-old was shot in the head on St. Aubin. On July 3rd, a 16-year-old died when he allegedly shot at Detroit police. The officer fired back. On July 5th, 3 teens were shot, a 17-year-old and 2 18-year-olds. They were critically hurt. And on the same day, a 2-year-old boy was hit by a stray bullet. There was a fight about a block away and somebody started shooting. That boy will eventually be okay. Now, because of all these and even more, Detroit will be stepping up curfew enforcement. That's what today's press conference is about. Chief Todd Bettison talked about that right after that 2-year-old boy was shot.
Just the fact that we have a lot of unsupervised juveniles at a park, and I understand that it's the holiday weekend. I understand that folks are out watching fireworks, but at the same time, parents still have the responsibility to ensure that they know where their children are and that they are supervised.
Now, you heard Bettison say police are going to hold parents accountable if their kids break curfew. That's something we're going to talk to Darnell Blackburn about. First of all, as I was reading that list, I heard you kind of sighing over here. I don't know if that was frustration or anger or disappointment or all the above.
Oh.
Yeah?
I mean, it's incensing that kids can't be kids, Nick. And this is, we've seen this way too much and far too often where young people are out and, just out minding their business and a stray bullet finds them and harms them. And so it's incensing and, it has to fall back on the parents to some degree. It definitely does. So to have this, I mean, we got a beautiful city. We have a beautiful environment. The summer's here. We have so many wonderful and positive things going on. And so this type of stuff puts a damper on it. I mean, even the shooting at the fireworks. Now, I think they were a little older, but these types of things, there's teenagers. And so, you know, this curfew is so important. It's so important for parents to just follow.
So when we hear curfew, a lot of people think it's just, you know, the government, or in this case, the city of Detroit police trying to, you know, dampen kids' fun. That's not what this is. This is about safety. And as we just read through that list, got a lot of people getting shot.
Yeah, it's about just responsibility as parents. Parents making sure that they're responsible for their children. And it doesn't mean that you can't let the kids be out. It just means that they're supervised.
Right.
That you're in the vicinity, that you know what's going on as a parent, and that you are accountable for them and making sure that they are behaving properly. I mean, here's the reality. We know our kids. We know our kids, and we know they're good, they're bad. And so, again, the curfew, it's not Big Brother saying, hey, the kids can't be outside. It's just saying be responsible and be accountable.
It's really interesting that you highlighted that it's more about supervision, and that you can still hang out. You know, the kids can go outside and play, but you've got to be watching them.
Yeah.
That would probably take the number of incidents and drop it down to zero, or at least close to it.
It would. It definitely would. And this speaks to a lot of things. I mean, young people having access to guns is a challenge, and the question is, where are they getting these guns? You know, I mean, as a former police officer, I know they get them on the street, but sometimes they get them from home. And so, you know, this could be an issue where the safe storage laws come into play. Now, the safe storage laws is if that young person has access, if you as a parent or guardian do not put this gun in a secured space where they can't access it, now you are going to be criminally charged as well. Right. So there's a lot of factions here, and the curfew is just designed to help.
I don't know how to phrase this without sounding horrible, but I'll say it anyway. It seems like there are multiple times where if we don't hold the parents accountable, nothing will get better, right? You've got to take mom and dad or grandma and whoever's taking care of these kids and make it their problem. That's how safe storage really started, right? It was an effort to keep the guns out of kids' hands, but it really was us saying, lock up your guns, right? Yeah. Is the curfew kind of the same thing?
Completely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's saying, again, you got to be accountable. You got to be accountable. If safe storage, if you have a gun in your house, you have to be accountable for that gun.
You have to be responsible.
Responsible.
Yeah.
Exactly. Responsible and accountable for that. Just like you are for your child. I mean, you pour into your kids. We have the responsibility to make sure that, to the best of our abilities. I mean, kids have free will and they make their decisions, but to the best of our own ability as parents, we're both parents, and making sure that we mold them, that we're responsible, that we're with them, and that we manage and supervise them to the best of our ability. And that's what this curfew violation, I mean, if a kid sneaks out of the house, there's nothing.
Sneaking out is one thing.
Absolutely.
Right. Letting them go run amok is another.
Absolutely. And that's what this is about. And
boy, I'm sounding old using phrases like run amok.
Yeah, that is an old one. It's oldie, but it's still a goodie.
Yes,
still a goodie. Still a goodie.
All right, thanks for your insight, Darnell. We appreciate you as always.
You,
thank you much. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the threads Darnell's wearing and whether or not you're supposed to wash them. You are. You're just wet.
Yeah.
That's the question. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. Chances are when you buy new clothes, you're excited to put them on right away. But before you slip on that new shirt or dress, especially for your kids, make sure you wash them first. Rhonda Walker has a Consumer Reports explaining why it matters and how you find how you can do it without damaging that new find.
Usually I take the clothes and I wash it first.
Anything that is coming from the store, I would like to make it clean.
And that's the right move. New clothes might look clean, but you should wash them before putting them on. Consumer Reports home and trends writer Jodira Rodriguez says you should be washing all new clothing purchases, including your delicates like underwear.
It might seem unnecessary to wash all the new clothes you buy, but there are really good reasons to do it. For example, chemicals from the manufacturing and finishing process can still be on the fabric, and for someone with sensitive skin, that can cause irritation.
That's especially true for babies. Their skin is thinner and more absorbent than adults, which means they're more vulnerable to harsh chemicals left behind in new clothes.
So you're not just wearing a new outfit, you're wearing everything it picked up along the way.
A lot of the clothes we buy are made overseas and pass through a long supply chain. Once they arrive at the store, they're handled, unpacked, and tried on along the way. And they can pick up dust, dirt, and even bugs. So how do you wash new clothes the right way? Consumer Reports laundry expert Richard Handel has some tips.
Wash clothes with similar colors together. Some brightly colored garments can bleed or fade during the first wash. Washing in cold or cool water and the gentle cycle can minimize that and also reduce the risk of shrinking.
Consumer Reports also recommends using a gentle detergent, especially for people with sensitive skin. 2 Consumer Reports top tested picks: Persil Everyday Clean, Free, and Sensitive, and Costco's Kirkland Signature Ultra Clean, Free, and Clear. And don't forget to check the care label. Following those instructions will help keep your clothes looking new longer. As for the debate to wash first or wear first, among the people I talked to, perhaps Chris Lockhart summed it up best.
Like the scripture says, you don't put new stuff in the old bag. So with clothing, I'm not going to put my clean body in something that was manufactured on machines and using dyes and all that stuff. So I prefer to let my Clorox or Tide do the cleaning first.
Okay, I get it. So there's actually a ton of laundry detergents out there, from Tide to Gain and Arm & Hammer, but there are certain detergent brands that are really better for washing your clothes. We talked to someone from Consumer Reports about their findings. I'm going to show you what they say coming up later in this hour. Metro Detroit has been boiling for days. Ashley is going to join us here on Local 4 Live with some relief from that humidity as we're looking live over Southfield. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. It is 8:20. I had to wait just a second because I wanted to nail it on the dot. Ashley Barassi is here, and I am so happy to say hello to you.
Oh, I'm happy to say hello to you too.
Well, because that weekend forecast, there was some issues here and there was some, we got just poured on in northern Macomb County for a while.
Yeah.
The heat, whoo, but it could have been worse.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You told me to go glass half full. I'm working on it.
I love it. Well, we'll talk about glass half full today because even though it's a pretty cloudy day, It's less humid, it's not as hot,
Yeah.
so it'll be a nice day all in all. So yeah, we're tracking some changes weather-wise, but it's not a bad thing. We'll be seasonal and pleasant as we head into tomorrow as well. In fact, I think Tuesday is the pick day of the week because we do have some shower and storm potential off and on starting midweek through late week, but the clouds winning out to start. Another look from our Windsor Skycam with our temperatures. We sit at 68. We've been falling throughout the morning, so 68 in Ann Arbor, 63 in Pontiac, and 73 in Monroe. So certainly a difference from just 24 hours ago. You can see into the Thumb region, distinctly cooler, 15 to almost 20 degrees cooler in Lapeer, and we're averaging about 5 to 10 degrees cooler closer to that I-94 corridor. So getting out the door on this Monday, which might be a slower start for some because we're coming off a long holiday weekend. 81 the afternoon high. I'll say either side of 80 really across the metro area, but by the time we get closer to the dinner hour, that's when we should have a little bit of that sun breaking through the clouds. And so we will have some gradual clearing heading into tonight, but the forecasted highs vary greatly across lower Michigan. So heart of the metro area, either side of 80 up in the Thumb though, and towards Port Huron, low 70s for the high today. And then you look off towards Grand Rapids and we're talking mid 80s, so be a little bit warmer on the west side of the state today. Tonight, we hold on to mostly clear to partly cloudy skies, northeasterly breeze. We have the lower humidity, so it's an open the windows kind of night with that low of 62 degrees. Now let's talk baseball. Tigers are back home starting a new homestand against the Rays. Today will be nice, tomorrow even more pleasant, and then Wednesday, that's when we have a day game, and our afternoon shower and storm chances could hinder that game. We're still a few days out, so we'll be fine-tuning that part of the forecast, but if you have tickets to that day game, just note that we're keeping an eye on some rain potential. Right now, severe storms aren't anticipated, but you still could see a non-severe thunderstorm, but no storms in the forecast for the night game today and tomorrow. So as we look at that forecast, you see it's the warm front that could be pesky come Wednesday afternoon as it drapes southeast Michigan. That does bring rain chances, and as that low kind of hangs tight just to our south, we'll have a couple little rain chances come Thursday afternoon, but the better chance really will be Wednesday afternoon. Very slight chance Friday, and then we'll have another chance as we go into the weekend. So what does that mean as we're now inching towards the middle of the month? Well, we could trend a little above average when it comes to rain, but certainly above average with those temperatures. And so we're in good company. You can even see the west side of the nation dealing with above average conditions mid-July. So your full forecast, seasonal would be mid 80s. We're there for a stretch of days, but then the upper 80s do return Friday and Saturday. That's going to come with increased humidity and a couple of those off and on storm chances. So a little break from the heat, not cold by any means, but a little break from the heat today, Nick.
I still don't see 90s in there, so we're good.
I know. Yesterday was toasty.
It was just a little bit.
Yeah. It's summer though, and hopefully folks were able to hit the water for the holiday.
It was a day like, sunscreen. I mean, I know we did it for all days, but yesterday you could feel it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. Ashley's mad because I need to say sunscreen every day.
Well, yeah, I mean, a dermatologist would tell you that, not just me.
Thanks, Ash.
Yeah.
All right, state lawmakers in Lansing missed that key budget deadline. We're going to talk about what comes next for the budget bill and what that means for school districts in Metro Detroit. And as we head to break, here's a live look from across the river thanks to our friends over in Windsor. We'll talk more about what's happening in Detroit in just a moment. Good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. Breaking news out of Mount Clemens right now, where hundreds of McLaren-Macomb nurses have walked off the job. We're going to take a live look here outside of the hospital at that ongoing strike. We're told the strike is planned for the next 3 days, although nurses said they have been locked off their schedules until Saturday. The union says McLaren is engaging in unfair labor practices since 2023. Hospital officials say they have prepared by bringing in fully qualified staff and training replacements to keep patient care safe. Now, if you're watching us over on the TV side, why don't you turn over to Local 4 Plus for our streaming show, Local 4 Live. More conversations happening in the next hour and a half. We're talking with the local college that is now offering a bachelor's degree in artificial intelligence, plus making money while learning new skills. We're going to highlight the skilled trades program, giving workers a new edge. And we're talking about the best detergents on some of your new clothes. Actually comes back with the forecast in just a few moments.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Good morning, everybody. Live pictures now outside of McLaren-Macomb Hospital out in Mount Clemens. This is a nurses' strike that started about an hour and a half ago at 7 a.m. as nurses walked off the job. The union says they are fighting for a fair wage and they want the facility to be fully staffed. McLaren says the union has walked away from negotiations and is not willing to reach a reasonable agreement. The strike involves 700 workers, including nurses and medical and lab technicians. Our Priya Mann is there. She's going to have an update for us coming up at 9 a.m. You can also read all about this strike that's happening right now on our website at clickondetroit.com. Well, last week, lawmakers in Lansing missed a key budget deadline. It was a target date to agree on the state budget. On yesterday's Flashpoint, Jason Colthorpe spoke to a roundtable of Lansing lawmakers on what needs to be fixed in the budget before the state legislature actually approves the bill.
We are diving into the budget this week on Flashpoint with our roundtable of lawmakers. And one thing we didn't quite get to yet, and I'll go right around the table, start with you, Representative Tate. Is there a chance the governor can finally see a roads plan get done as part of this budget before it's hammered out?
I think there is. I think there's an opportunity. I mean, this has been a conversation that's been ongoing for a decade plus. Now, I think in terms of what we're seeing with conversations and ongoing conversations, I think there is an opportunity. But you have to be able to negotiate this as a whole.
Right.
You can't get to roads
now,
until
or at least the July 1 deadline.
Absolutely, it has to be laid bare, everything across the budget, and I think Speaker Hall needs to make sure that there's everything that's laid bare in order to negotiate and get a roads deal done.
And we know he has a plan as well as the governor. So does that make it tougher if you try and hammer it out during a
Well,
budget
they're pretty
negotiation?
vastly different.
Yeah.
One raises taxes substantially, and another one doesn't. I've been a part of the legislature when we voted to raise the gas tax, and I don't want to do it again, and I don't think we need to do it again. I think we've shown that how to do this, and I just, as you know, Senator Camilleri and I were talking the other day. I said, I don't think you want to go to the polls next year having raised gas tax, or a corporate income tax, or any other scheme that they want to do to raise income. I think the money's there. It's just about priorities.
Senators, can we get roads done in this?
Oh, I sure hope so. This is the point, is that the House Republicans in a bipartisan fashion came forward with a roads plan that first makes sure 100% of the taxes collected at the pump actually go to roads, and all this corporate welfare and these business subsidies that continue to distort the economy. Let's get back to putting Michigan workers first, and that means that instead of funding some of these most profitable woke corporations, some related to the Chinese Communist Party, invest in our roads and bridges and infrastructure. And my hope is that we can spend this time to get to a roads plan that actually fixes local roads and actually fixes the roads that are most used. Unfortunately, 6 years ago, the governor went it alone, borrowed $3.5 billion. Those bills are starting to come due. And this means that our local roads, our counties, cities, and villages are actually going to see a cut coming up, because those bonds are needing to be paid back. Let's get to a solution. After you've seen state government spending increase by 45% over the last 6 years, the money's in the budget. We can go ahead and find that money and invest in the critical infrastructure that we need to grow our economy and invest in our workers.
Thoughts on that?
I mean, look, we can do a roads deal. I hope that we get to some version of a deal before this year is over, because nobody has to tell me about roads. I've secured money in my time in the legislature to help fix the Groseal Bridge or the Denton Road Bridge in Belleville, or solve these block train crossings in my district in Woodhaven. These are big priorities for my residents, but we do need a long-term sustainable funding plan to ensure that all of these local roads are fixed. I think there's some common ground here on that idea. The problem, obviously, is how do you pay for it? But what I'm hearing is that there is an opportunity to hold big corporations accountable that I think some of us could get behind. Maybe it is looking at some of these subsidies that have not worked. I think that there's some appetite there on the Democratic side of things to have that be part of the conversation. But it also should be a component of this should be raising corporate income taxes. We have a way too low number here in the Midwest, even compared to other states. And so they have to pay their fair share as well. And so I don't want to put any tax increase on the backs of working people. I think that that's probably a shared priority. But let's look at these larger corporations, that how can they participate in this as well, because they're using the roads just as much as anybody else.
2 years ago, we had that opportunity, a $9 billion surplus. Senate Republicans and others kept coming in. Let's take half of that and put that into fixing our roads and bridges. Heck, we still have flooding this morning on the lodge from rain, right?
No, well, that might not be from rain,
but this is the challenge.
It was a fire hydrant issue.
But this is the challenge: is a lot of these issues around, whether it's Metro Detroit or around the state of Michigan, could be fixed from real capital investment. In the last 2 years, they blew through a $9 billion surplus with a Democrat governor, Democrat House and Senate. Yeah, I get it. Let's not play the blame game right now. How do you go ahead and address these issues going forward? And we have the opportunity right now to sit down and to work on a plan that actually solves some of these problems, whether it's education, whether it's infrastructure. Let's go ahead and spend the time that we need to fix these big issues.
Last thing, and this for anybody, but just on the budget part of this, we haven't heard much from Governor Whitmer in the process here. Should she be more vocal at this point, or do you see it? Should she leave it up to the leadership to just get this done? What's her role in this?
Or fly off to Australia?
Well, I can only speak from my experiences. So as Speaker, I mean, the governor was engaged in these budget conversations, and we got a budget done on time and balance.
Was it mostly behind the scenes, or, I mean, like when you creep up to the July 1st, you might think she might be more vocal publicly?
Well, there are more conversation. And I know that, obviously there's opportunities, there's state of the state. I think that was something that was outlined as well, too. But also there has to be some reactions as well, too. I mean, the House has to get also finished their first chamber budgets as well too. And I think, speaking to, priorities and issues as well too, as we're talking about with the budget, because I know it's a document of our values, let's continue to have these conversations too about how we're helping working people and working families as well too. This is something that we've talked about over the past couple of years. We expanded EITC. We didn't get any support, I think, on the other side of the aisle for things like that or
Chucked
seniors.
it in with a big corporate welfare scheme 2 years ago. That was what you put in as part of the tax spend. Yeah, but you decided to go it alone. And this is the challenge. I think people want folks to come together. And now with a Republican House, and it's still a Democrat Senate, and a Democrat governor, let's sit down and let's work on some of these toughest issues that are out there. But this was the thing, is when you guys had a 1-seat majority in the House and Senate, that you jammed through the corporate welfare along with some other, social welfare handouts that you guys wanted to do. You did it purposely on going alone instead of working together with Republicans.
As far as the governor's participation, we appreciate her re-engagement yesterday evening and some of these talks at a higher level. And I think that they've been helpful, and I think it'll help spur us to get this done.
Yeah, Senator, take the last word on this.
The governor was in the Capitol last night with the Speaker and the Senate Majority Leader. I think that she is all in on getting a deal. We've got to all obviously agree, which has been some of the problem. I mean, the legislature had been controlled by Republicans for 40 years. The Senate was a Republican-led majority for 40 years. This is the first time we've found some different versions of the legislature, and it's going to take some growing pains for all of us to find common ground. I think we can get there, and I'm still an eternal optimist. My hope, though, is that we can meet it by July 1st, and if not on the 1st, sometime shortly after.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would like to see that. Let me get to another important topic I wanted to bring up since I had 4 lawmakers here. We've seen so much more political violence these days, almost to the point where some people say it's like the 1960s all over again. We saw what happened to our governor. The president was shot at once, and 2 plots against him. And then recently, state lawmakers in Minnesota were targeted, and some of those in Michigan were on that same list. How much does this concern you as lawmakers? And I know I have 2 here with higher political aspirations, at least at the moment. And how do we turn down the temperature in America? I'll start with you, Senator.
It's frightening. I'll be honest. I mean, no matter if you're an elected official or somebody who's participating in a protest, people are being targeted for their speech and for their actions in the public. That's not how we should be engaging in our democracy. I believe in peaceful actions of protest and honest disagreements. I think there's an opportunity for us, even if we don't agree on a policy issue, to still talk it out and find common ground. But for state lawmakers now to be targeted in addition to some of these higher political positions, we're entering a frightening era in American politics. I hope that folks can turn down the rhetoric and turn down the temperature here, because this type of violence is horrible. A lawmaker and her husband are dead. Yeah. They're dead. And we've just moved on from the conversation.
Yeah.
As a farm boy, middle of 5 kids, that I think a lot of folks say you can disagree without being disagreeable. I was always, how do you find consensus and move forward? There are political differences. There's a reason why there's 2 major parties in America that have very different views and visions for where to take the country and where to take the state. But when you have protesters that are out there saying 86-47, saying that they want to see the assassination and removal of President Trump, that's really troubling. And you see that. I've seen that every Saturday for the last month as I've went around to different Republican events or Lincoln Day dinners around the state.
I have less than a minute, by the way.
And that's the kind of stuff that needs to be condemned, and saying we need to get back. It's about the ballot box, and it's about the discussion. It's not about violence.
Real quickly, gentlemen, quick thoughts on how to turn the temperature down.
I think it's just a matter of all of us, paying attention to what we're saying and trying to, escape using inflammatory language and things that just don't belong in the political space.
Representative Tate, 10 seconds.
I agree. The political violence has no place here, and we need to make sure that we are toning down the temperature while still getting our points across.
I really appreciate all of your thoughts on that, as well as the budget. Thanks so much for being here. We're going to wrap up this edition. Coming up next, more Flashpoint.
Well, you can watch the entire episode of Flashpoint right here on Local 4 Plus, and of course always on clickondetroit.com. Well, can you remember what detergents you're throwing in that washing machine? You probably have your favorites. We're going to talk to Consumer Reports about the ones that you actually should be using. Also, a live look over in Ann Arbor this morning at the Big Cows. Ashley comes back with your forecast for the work week, and it's not as hot as it was this past couple of days. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. Earlier in our show, we learned the importance of washing your new clothes after you buy them, before you put them on. And Consumer Reports gave us some examples on the best detergents you should be using. But it opens the questions, are there certain ones that are better than the others? I had a conversation with Rich Handel, who is Consumer Reports detergent guy. He does more than that, but that's what this topic is. Richard Handel, Consumer Reports, joining us for a little bit more of a conversation here about this study. I see all the detergents behind you, so let me start with that question there. I was surprised to hear that the type of detergent actually makes a difference here. I thought you could just wash with almost anything and it's good enough. No?
Well, it don't really depends on what you're washing and how dirty it is, but you can see in our ratings of 60 some odd detergents, there is a range of performance from about as good as water to really, really, excellent cleaning performance on difficult stains.
Well, again, let's kind of talk about your top ones. What's at the top and why?
Historically, the top brands have been a toss-up between Tide and Purcell. They sell multiple types of detergents under those brands. So I think it's, some are more, free and natural or gentle. A lot of people who have skin sensitivities or are more interested in sustainability look towards those. In general, they don't perform as well. So I think it's, take a look at the ratings and, see which one works best for you.
When you look at the study, it obviously, I think it's not common sense, but maybe people didn't always know that you really should wash the clothes before you put them on. Did you find a lot of people were surprised by that?
I think some people are very conscious about that, and they're very adamant about having to wash everything before it touches them. But you're in the store, you see this nice shirt, it's crisp, it's fresh looking. That's to get you to buy it. To do that, sometimes there are chemicals or sizing agents, so it's nice and flat, no wrinkles, it's bright. They use these things to improve the look and in the store, and also these items get shipped. They're transferred from a factory to a distributor to the store. It's in the back of the warehouse. Who knows what's back there and going on? And then they end up on the floor, for sale. Looks great, but it's a great idea to wash it before you put it against your skin, especially if you have sensitivities.
Yeah. Is there a difference in the quality of the retailer, or does not really matter?
When you go to buy something, it's always going to look its best because they want to sell it to you.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily know if it's the retailer. Some depending on the retail, they have a look, right? Whether it looks like it's a used clothing store or it looks like it's a ritzy, fancy store.
Yeah.
They all go through the same process of manufacturing, sizing, warehousing, distributing, and transportation. So they all see those things. It's not any different, the chain.
There was an interesting part of the report that's discussed that when you do wash it for the first time, you need to make sure it's, with light colors on a cold cycle. I have been the victim of kind of forgetting about that sometimes, especially with blue jeans, where that dye will just run and ruin so many things.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. The thing with jeans are that even if it's not a dye transfer, but if you leave the load in your washer machine after the cycle, it's sitting against, let's say, your nice shirt, it'll transfer just because it's sitting there wet, and it wicks away the dye into the other item. And you'll see that, you'll have a nice white shirt that now looks sort of tie-dyed, but not uniform. And not in a good way.
Yeah, not intentional. Before I let you go, what was kind of the biggest takeaway on this study for you guys?
Well, I guess, we try to inform the public. So like you said in the beginning, not many people realize it's a good idea to clean these items. They don't, you don't recognize what the products go through. So they probably know it, but it's a reminder to do that.
And sometimes it's not just a reminder. It's you probably know you should do this, but now we're telling you it. You really do need to do it.
Yeah, yeah, and it really, think about where the garment's sitting. If it's against your skin, you definitely want to do it. If it's a jacket or a sport coat, maybe less so because you got 2 layers before it's touching your skin.
Yeah.
And so it really depends on you and how comfortable you are about it.
Yeah. The undergarments you're definitely washing.
I think so.
All right, Richard Handel, Consumer Reports. Thanks so much for your time today.
Welcome. Take care.
I hope you're washing the undergarments. We hope. By the way, Consumer Reports also recommends skipping the fabric softener. They say not only can it irritate sensitive skin, but it can also leave some residue in the washer, encourage mold growth, and over time, even make bedding and clothing more flammable. Well, some showers pouring in might cool us down from the scorching heat we've been having. Ashley comes back in just a few moments here on Local 4 Live to talk about that forecast as you're looking live over at DTW. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. Look who's joined us. Hey. The Ashley Barrissey. With the forecast I think most of you are going to enjoy.
I think so too. I mean, there's the plus and negative side to everything. The heat over the weekend was great for folks that were hitting the water, but we do have, I would say, more pleasant conditions as we enter the week.
Compared to what it was.
That's right. And still warm enough that you can certainly enjoy the pool this afternoon. It's just not as hot and humid. Now, we will be a little more seasonal and pleasant as we head into your Tuesday. Possible showers and storms midweek, and we're going to take that off and on activity all the way through the remainder of the week. So come Wednesday, it does get a little bumpy, but right now, downtown Detroit, clouds are winning out. And we have gone down another degree, 68 degrees in the city, 69 in Ann Arbor, 63 in Pontiac, and 72 in Monroe. So definitely a cooler start out there with that cloud cover. And you can just see that cooler air sinking in. Lapeer is 20 degrees cooler right now than where we were just before 9 a.m. yesterday. Now, the temperatures definitely noticeable, but just not to the extreme along I-94 and southward. So averaging closer to about 10 degrees cooler there. But boy, in Livingston, Oakland, Macomb County North, that is a much bigger swing downward. So your outdoor forecast for today, more clouds than sun throughout a good chunk of the day, but I'm going to say about 4 o'clock onward, you'll probably get a few breaks in the clouds. So late afternoon, early evening, that sun's going to try to peek through, but either side of 80 for the afternoon high, unless you're going to be up into the thumb region later today. And we're probably not getting out of the low 70s. So Port Huron and then up in the tip of the thumb, that's where we have those low 70s forecasted. Otherwise, west side of the state will trend a little bit warmer than what we will have here across the metro area. So 85, the forecasted high off towards Grand Rapids. Tonight, you can open the windows, mostly clear skies, 62 for the overnight low. So it's going to be cooler. It also will be dry, meaning not as much humidity. And that northeasterly breeze will be refreshing. So give the air conditioning a break tonight. We're starting a new homestand for the Tigers as they take on Tampa Bay. And so these will be evening games today and tomorrow. We'll be in the low to mid 80s for highs, falling a little bit below that for that first pitch, but dry today and tomorrow. Now, Wednesday's a day game over at Comerica Park. It's going to be a little iffy. 84 is the forecasted high, which would hit towards game's end, but we do have some afternoon shower and storm chances. So we'll have to see as we get a little closer how it's timing out. But let me show you here as that cold front sweeps through. We will be dry tomorrow. It's that pesky warm front on Wednesday. And as you see right there, by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it does bring us some rain chances, although it doesn't seem heavy at the time. That's why I said we're going to have to look at that high resolution data as it comes in for Wednesday. But Thursday, starting to peel back those rain chances a little bit. So it could be an isolated chance Thursday and Friday before more of a scattered chance by the time we get to Saturday as that heat and humidity rises. Now, 6 to 10 day outlook. This is put out by the Climate Prediction Center. Does have us trending a little bit above average when it comes to rainfall, but well above average with temperatures. But we're in good company. If you take a look, much of the country will be above average as we go through the middle of the month. And so we've kind of gotten used to that. I mean, we've had our share of 90-degree days, and we don't have 90s quite in the forecast over the next 7 days, but we'll be flirting with it by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. So temperatures rising as we head into the weekend, but a pretty seasonal stretch starting tomorrow through the remainder of the week.
Yeah, we see some pop-up showers in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
We can handle it.
You can handle anything.
So can you.
Oh, I don't know about that. Thanks, Ash. Well, besides the hot streak, the Tigers have someone else to celebrate or something else to celebrate. The team looking back on the year spent inside their den in downtown Detroit before they moved here to Comerica Park. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. The Tigers are celebrating 25 years of playing at Comerica Park. The official celebration runs July 11th through the 13th, with the Tigers hosting the Seattle Mariners just like on opening day back in 2000. The festivities start earlier this week with events like the Boys and Girls Club opening day in Detroit and a special kickoff for the Woodworth Throwbacks Comerica Park collection in Hamtramck. There's also a Jordan Davis post-game concert happening on July 11th. Well, much more coming up in our next hour of news. We're going to take you back out live to Mount Clemens, where hundreds of hospital workers have walked off the job at McLaren Macomb. The strike impacting nurses, lab techs, and more. Plus, getting a degree in AI. We're going to talk to two men over at Walsh College who are leading that charge there. The unique way they are using AI in the classroom as well. Plus, trade up. We're talking about a great opportunity in Macomb County to get training in a skilled trade that is definitely needed. More news and weather in our next hour. Stay with us here on Local 4 Live.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Hey everybody, that breaking news here on Local 4 Live coming to us in Macomb County, where hundreds of hospital workers are on the picket line. You're looking at live pictures right now. We are on hour 2 now of the strike. They're walking off the job for 3 days, and it could be longer. It's a fight over pay and staffing numbers. This is happening again over at McLaren Macomb and Mount Clemens. That's near Groesbeck and Harrington. Our Priya Mann is there. She's been there all morning long. Priya, can you kind of walk us through what the workers are fighting for and what the hospital has to say about it?
I think the first thing, Nick, is that nurses are fighting for the nurse-to-patient ratio. This is something that we haven't seen just here, but also in Rochester when nurses were protesting outside of Henry Ford Health. In this case, the number is just much larger. You've got about 700 hospital workers here who are on strike. I want to bring in Dina Carlisle, who's the president of the union here. And Dina, what are the major issues that you and your members are fighting for?
First of all, it's a ULP strike. The hospital has
an unlawful labor practice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. And we have 6 charges for the service group and 7 for the registered nurses that have been filed since the beginning of our negotiations. The issues for the RNs are safe staffing first and foremost. Our membership has told us with a 95% vote, they want safe staffing. We were willing to give back bonuses, everything to get the matrix. For the service group folks, there's about 180 of them. They are making poverty wages. They can be mandated to stay overtime. These are the folks that are your lab people who draw your blood, the people who register you, the people who sit with you if you're not safe.
These folks in some cases are relying on Medicaid and SNAP benefits.
Exactly. No one should have to work multiple jobs to make a living. We need a fair wage for our service group people.
Now, we did get a new statement from the hospital, if we can put that up on your screen. The statement says the union's decision to take its members on strike is a truly regrettable development, considering the hospital put forth an offer that includes a wage increase that creates a market-leading compensation package, nationally benchmarked staffing ratios, and qualified benefits. There was also some highlights that the hospital offered as well, including a 15% pay increase over 3 years, bringing the top of scale to more than $59 per hour, maintaining national benchmark staffing ratios and enhanced retention bonuses, as well as restructured overtime. What is your response when you hear that?
The nurses don't want all the extra bonuses. The nurses want safe staffing. And they don't say in their statement how they've repeatedly said to us, we want flexibility in our staffing. They are staffing below the matrix we have. They are well over $1 million in penalty pay. We never dreamed they would pay that penalty pay. We thought they would staff the nurses up front so we weren't working short, and they continue to do it daily.
Bottom line, what is your message for folks who are watching this, especially folks who might not work in the healthcare industry? Maybe they haven't had a loved one in a hospital. What is your message for the broader community about the fight that's happening here?
I think everyone has had someone who has had a baby, whose mom or dad have been in the hospital, grandma and grandpa. We are here to take good care of these people. When they need to get up and use the facilities, that we are here to help them, that there aren't falls. We want safe patient care. We want them medicated correctly. We need safe staffing.
And that fight begins here. Thank you so much, Dina. Again, nurses walking off the job here at 7 this morning, and they will continue to be on strike here through Wednesday, but they have been locked out till Saturday. So this labor dispute will continue. It's been ongoing since 2023, and we, of course, will stay on top of it. Reporting live here in Mount Clemens, I'm Priya Mann. Nick, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Priya, thank you so much for the update out there. A lot happening in a very short amount of time. Of course, we're going to keep you updated on all the developments throughout the day here on Local 4 Plus and over on clickondetroit.com. Well, I haven't had a chance to say it yet, but welcome everybody to Local 4 Live. We had to start with breaking news. It's 9:03 now. So much to cover in this next hour. We're going to break down everything for you right now. Let's start over in Texas, where we are keeping a close eye on that situation with more rain and flooding possible there today. The death toll is now at 81 after catastrophic flooding hit Kerr County, that's west of Austin. We're also going to come closer to home, looking live over in Southfield. A college in Oakland County is now offering a degree in artificial intelligence. We're going to talk to students. We'll talk with some leaders there about what students are going to learn as the world navigates how to integrate AI into potentially everything we do. Plus, trade up We're going to learn about a great opportunity in Macomb County to get training on a skilled trade that is in very high demand. But first, your news headlines of the day. The city of Detroit is cracking down on curfews for teenagers. This comes after a recent increase in teen violence over the summer. We're waiting on an announcement that will crack down on that crackdown that's going to happen at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. In the last month, nearly a dozen children and teenagers were shot in the city of Detroit. Mayor Mike Duggan and Police Chief Todd Bedison will be talking about this again at 1 o'clock this afternoon. We'll bring that to you live right here on Local 4+. Let's take a live look now at Austin, Texas. And many are recovering from the tragedy of what's described as the 100-year flood that has left at least 81 people dead. Weather experts say torrential rains raising the level of the Guadalupe River more than 20 feet in just 45 minutes. Investigators say many people were swept away in a raging current. Now, newly released drone video shows members of the Fort Worth Fire Department rescuing people in San Angelo over the weekend. You can see right there them pulling a person out from a partially submerged vehicle. Another clip you'll see here in a moment will show a police officer on the roof of a building, and you can see that person being pulled out of the floodwaters as well.
When you talk to so many people who are looking for family members and friends, it just really puts things into perspective. And I mean, we're going to be fine. We have each other, and we both made it out. And at this point, it's all about trying to help those who are less fortunate.
Officials are warning, and really sad to say that the death toll is likely to continue to rise through the day today. Heading back home now, the man accused of killing Detroit teen Isaiah Harris will be in court at any moment. Jarvis Buss is facing multiple felonies in the teen's suspected death. Last week, the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office issued new charges against him. These are for the sexual assault of a then 12-year-old girl at an Allen Park home back in 2013. We're waiting to see when that trial or hearing will begin. Again, it's supposed to start any minute. Well, we are all navigating the use of artificial intelligence in our lives. Did you know you can actually get a degree in AI? Walsh College is now offering a bachelor's degree in AI and machine learning. It's one of the first colleges to do that in Michigan. The college is also using it in unique ways in the classroom. For example, the vice president and chief academic officer has created his own avatar. So when students have a question at, say, 3 o'clock in the morning, they just ask it instead of him. Well, joining us right now is Dr. David Chippers. It's not the avatar. He's actually really here. And Daniel Sem, who's the executive director of the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship and the president of Walsh Ventures. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. A degree in AI. You think you hear everything, and the next thing pops up. What's the point? And I say that facetiously, but I think it's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. And I'll say the interesting thing is obviously AI is shifting very quickly right now. Obviously, a lot of the big tech giants are out there, and there's a big demand on high quality talent. And that's going to continue into the future. So Walsh sat back. This is multiple programs now that we're leaning into AI ML. So we saw this, I'll say early on. And then all of the news reports and all of the surveys from the business leaders that we're seeing are just confirming, there's a heavy interest. There's going to be a lot and continue to be more investments into the AI ML sector. So we wanted to help prepare people who want to lean into that space. In essence, develop the skills for the new AI economy, especially on the tech side.
So what does that curriculum look like then? What classes am I taking so I can get a bachelor's degree in AI?
Yeah, so frankly, what we're doing is we're leaning into a lot of the core things. Like you're going to need to know some of the programming, some of the different security aspects of that. You're going to lean into things like actual machine learning itself. There's obviously heavy statistics involved in all of that, as well as things like computer vision, et cetera. So there's a big cadre of different subjects is what I would say. Our curriculum is matching out with what are being established as national standards for the knowledge base that's required with AI ML degree, and what specifically the employers are looking for as far as the talent and skills in order to land on the job and actually have an impact early on.
Daniel, I wanted to ask you too. I know you're in close conversation with many of the businesses throughout Metro Detroit. I imagine this is a job that will probably very soon, if not already, be in demand as businesses and ventures start to expand what they're doing and how they do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Through the Center for Innovation Entrepreneurship that I run, we had a workshop last fall actually for businesses in Michigan how to use AI and to improve their processes and digital marketing and efficiencies and so on. So yeah, I'm seeing that strongly with established businesses, big and small. And then I also run an angel investor group called Walsh Ventures, and we're seeing a lot of startups along the lines with innovations that are trying to solve these problems. In fact, Walsh actually has a spin-out company, CSI Sim, where we have patented technology that's used for corporate and college education, and it's some of that we're deploying in the classes that Dr. Skipper's talked about.
So here's a question for either one of you, or both of you. How do you introduce a program like this while also balancing the concerns over AI that could be pushing some jobs out?
Well, the balance point there is, I'll say, I'll be very succinct. I see AI differently than I think a lot of folks out there. Yes, there's a lot of talk about how many jobs are going to get replaced with AI. We're already seeing data come out from the businesses saying, yeah, some of the jobs are disappearing, but as always, as new tech comes out, brand new jobs are being created as well. But I think one of the big stories that now the data specifically is starting to show as well is that there is a future where employers are seeing combining AI with human beings for this kind of enhanced approach is actually kind of a sweet spot. Actually, it's not kind of, it is a sweet spot. So a lot of what's happening is the businesses are starting to lean into, how do I upskill my existing employees to have them learn the skills that we need to work effectively with AI? So because part of the story is not just, hey, am I going to be a really deeply tech person who can create AI? Part of what we're leaning into as well with Walsh College is, if you're a business person, what skills do you need in order to work with AI to be more effective and more collaborative with it? So you can help meet that sweet spot that the employers are looking for.
Daniel, I want to get your take on that in just a moment, but we've got to take a real fast commercial break. I will talk to you in about 90 seconds.
Sounds good.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Local 4 Live. We are talking about a new AI degree over at Walsh College with Dr. David Shippers, the Vice President and Chief Academic Officer, and Daniel Sem, who is the Executive Director of the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship and President of Walsh Ventures. We left off waiting for our comments from Daniel about the need to balance the ever-growing field of AI with the concerns about maybe some job loss over it. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's maybe less about replacing people, as much of the discussion is, and more about leveraging them. And that's true whether you're talking about manufacturing or whether you're talking about professions like law, medicine, or higher ed where we are. So for example, is there a fear that teachers are going to be replaced with AI avatars like we're creating at Walsh? That's not what I think. I think in most industries, people are kind of stretched to the limit. And so I have an AI avatar of myself in my learning management system for my course. We have one for Dr. Skippers. We're going to be adding that to a lot of our classes. And like you said earlier, students will be able to talk to us after hours. They'll always be able to talk to us, but now they'll be able to talk to us more simple things like, I forgot when the final exam is or what's going to be on the final. Really kind of simple questions. And then our time can be spent on more impactful things. And that's true in any industry. And so yeah, and the avatars that we have are trained on, for example, mine, 6 leading business books, as well as my curriculum and all my content. And so the way in which we train the avatar is unique and proprietary, but it's actually almost like a digital twin of myself to be a teaching assistant. So
I find
not
it
replacing.
ironic that we're having the conversation about an AI degree in tandem with concerns over job loss, because now we're talking about new jobs that are being created, which is actually my next question for both of you, is that I'm certain that there is going to be an ever increasing demand for staff members to manage how businesses and companies utilize AI.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of our coursework that we're adding is actually outside of the actual technical realm. It is in the business side of the house, and it is leaning specifically into how do you lead teams and how do you move your companies and organizations forward by leveraging AI. So, like for instance, tonight I've got a doctoral class that we're kicking off. It's an AI strategy for leadership that is not technically based. It is very much about what is AI, how do you use it, and how do you use it ethically, and how do you build it appropriately so that you don't run into problems and you secure it and all these different things. But part of that is discussing how do you leverage it with teams, with humans, and how do you grow your organization. The short version, I'll say, is realistically, I think that as we look at new jobs being created, existing jobs being shifted some based off of AI, there's going to be a lot of new different leadership styles and approaches that are going to have to come into play for businesses to be successful with AI. It's not just a software package that you plug in and all of a sudden you save 25% of your capital outlay. It's going to produce and drive innovative changes in ways we probably haven't seen before. So I see it as a great opportunity to enhance organizations in how we function, as opposed to kind of a doom and gloom catalyst. Is with everything, with every new tech, we can kind of choose how do we want to use it. So we're definitely trying to help paint a picture. You can use it advantageously, ethically, and actually make a big significant difference for both your company and the people within your company.
Which is actually leads into my next and last question here for either of you or both of you. Do you equate the adapting of AI to surviving in the future?
Do you want to go first? I'll let you go first, Dan, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, I mean, technology is constantly evolving, and we need to evolve with it. So surviving not in a negative sense, that's just the way society and technology is and innovate. And we're not just teaching it the way Dr. Skipper's talked about, we're deploying it. So students are seeing, practicing what we preach. I don't know, Dave, if you want to add to that. So.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I would very firmly say adapting to AI and evolving with it is going to be key, not only to survival, but to, in essence, prospering. The thing I would say is, I'll make a quick comparison. If you look back to the societal and business changes that happened with the internet, especially as it permeated our lives, that's a good example of how it fundamentally changed business and society as a whole. I'm not saying it's going to be exactly that way, but I think, in essence, those early adopters and those mid to early adopters are going to get some definite advantages over their competitors. One of the big things that I think will come out of it is I think the companies who adapt with it well and innovate with it well will actually be able to increase and speed up their cycle times and be more responsive to the market. And that will give them a competitive edge over those who don't. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. But the short answer is yes. I see that you definitely are going to have to adapt and evolve with AI in order to survive and be successful and prosperous.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today. And any students watching right now, if you're looking for a degree in AI, Walsh College is the place for you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, when we come back, Ashley is going to join us with your post-holiday forecast, talking some temperatures that were nowhere near as hot as it was on the Independence Day weekend. There's been a fly in the studio all morning long, bothering the heck out of me. And I finally, I don't want to say.
Well, you took care of it.
He or she is gone. But Ashley is here now.
Right down here. Right there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There's a part over here, too.
You should have seen the excitement from this man.
It was bothering me for almost 90 minutes straight. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
Oh, what's on my jacket?
All right, let's go ahead and get to the weather. Nick's struggling over here. Oh, it is kind of fly season. I mean, from the heat and humidity, those little guys trying to get inside. But right now, we have a train going by at Metro Airport. So we have cloudy skies and cooler conditions. And so right now, 70 degrees, 64 in Pontiac, 72 in Grosse Ile, 63 in Port Huron. Northerly winds at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. So the temperature change noticeable across the area, anywhere from about 10 to 20 degrees cooler right now from this time yesterday. I mean, it was sweltering yesterday as we got into the 90s, so 20 degrees cooler specifically in Port Huron. So getting out the door today, we'll have more clouds and sun. We'll call it partly sunny, though, into the afternoon, as I do think late afternoon and evening we get a few breaks and that sun's trying to work its way in, but either side of 80 for the afternoon high. However, you look up towards the thumb, Port Huron probably not getting warmer than the low 70s for today. This is in the wake of a cold front, which means tonight, refreshing, 62 degrees, mostly clear skies. Open up the window and allow that light northeasterly breeze to come in. Now let's talk baseball, because the Tigers are back home for a stretch against the Tampa Bay Rays, and they'll be looking at dry conditions today and tomorrow, 80s in the forecast. But Wednesday's game is going to be a little iffy. It's going to be a day game on Wednesday, and we're looking at the chance for some showers and storms, especially by about 1 o'clock onward. So we're going to keep a close eye on that part of the forecast for sure. But that cold front sweeps to the east, gives us drier conditions the next 2 days, and then the warm front will replace it heading into Wednesday afternoon. So that brings the weather that you see there. Right now, no severe risk, though, with that. And then as we trend into Thursday, right now trending a little drier, but you just can't rule out an isolated chance. So I think the chances come Thursday, Friday, very much isolated, more of a scattered chance heading into Saturday. So we will have more activity as we go into the upcoming weekend. So seasonal would be mid-80s, and here we are tomorrow, mid-80s all the way through Thursday. Low 80s today will be refreshing, but we do get close to 90. Not forecasting 90 specifically, but close to 90 this weekend with some off and on storm chances.
I'm still very happy about the fact that it's no longer 99 degrees outside.
I thought you were talking about the fly. I'm still very happy with the fly.
I moved on now. I've cleaned it
Don't
off
worry,
my jacket.
there'll be another one that comes by.
Don't say that.
Well, it's summer. That's what happens.
They're not in the studio, though.
Well,
my thermometer
normally
said
we have
like
great cooks in the studio, especially around Live in the D, and they smell it.
I see. Just like that?
Just like the rest of the people in the newsroom. We're all like, fly when we have food in studio.
Producer Noel comes out of every corner. Like, where'd you come from? It's like, there's food.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ash. A live look in Hawaii right now. When we're back, we're going to talk about the major wildfire that is impacting that area and prompting evacuations across the island. A live look at Hawaii right now. It's almost 3:30 in the morning, so the sun has not come up, but a brush fire on Oahu's west side has prompted evacuations in that area. Fire officials saying the flames are now about 20% contained. The fire was first reported about 2:30 on Sunday afternoon, shortly after the city and county of Honolulu's Department of Emergency Management issued an evacuation order for surrounding areas. Several hours later, officials updated that order and said active evacuations were no longer taking place. However, several roads in the area remain closed. The cause of the fire, though, has not been figured out just yet. In some of your consumer news, TikTok could be building a new version of the app for users in the United States. According to the website The Information, the move comes ahead of the planned sale of TikTok to a group of investors. This coming after President Trump saying a deal for TikTok is close to late last week. He said talks with China on the acquisition could start today or maybe tomorrow. A look at Amazon's website right now as Amazon's Prime Day gets underway this week. And this year, the sales blowout runs 4 days from Tuesday through Friday. This is Amazon's 11th Prime Day event. The online giant promises millions of deals for more than 35 categories, from electronics and kitchen items to apparel and accessories. Last year, shoppers spent a record $14.2 billion on Prime Day. That was up 11% from 2023, according to Adobe Analytics. So much more to come here on Local 4 Live. The next half hour of our show, we're going to talk about apprenticeships at a local community college as part of our Trade Up initiative. That's when we come back.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. Thank you for joining us. First, right off the top, we're going to stay on top of that news out of Mount Clemens, McLaren-Macomb Hospital, where employees have walked off the job after a labor dispute with hospital administrators. The union says it's fighting for a fair wage and wants the facility to be fully staffed. McLaren says the union has walked away from negotiations and is not willing to reach a reasonable agreement. The strike involves 700 workers, including nurses, medical and lab technicians. We're going to keep you updated as this develops over the next several hours here. In some of your news headlines, a family through heartache saw a big show of support last night after a hit and run. Tia Robinson is still in a medically induced coma after being hit while crossing the street with her 3-year-old twins last Sunday. Her son Khalil died from his injuries. His twin sister Chloe is recovering at home. You can donate to the Robinson family through the Livonia First Responder Foundation at lfrfoundation.com. Dive teams recovered a man who jumped from a boat on White Lake and never came back up. The man is 49-year-old Jason Brookshire. Police say he was not wearing a life jacket when he jumped into the lake on Saturday night. They do believe alcohol is a factor. This comes as the Oakland County Sheriff's Office is increasing patrols with Operation Dry Water, making sure everyone on the water stays safe while enjoying the warm weather. Law enforcement cannot stress enough, everybody on a boat should have a life jacket within reach that is U.S. Coast Guard approved, especially for children. Let's take a live look at the White House right now, where President Trump is expected to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu later this afternoon. This comes after President Trump voiced confidence that a ceasefire deal in Gaza could happen this week after Hamas announced it had submitted a positive response to a proposal for a 60-day truce with Israel. President Trump told CNN there is a good chance for a deal with Hamas during the coming week pertaining to quite a few of the hostages. Let's take a live look at the stock market right now. Opened just about a minute ago. Wall Street is monitoring further developments on this trade front after President Trump threatened additional 10% tariffs on countries aligned with the, quote, anti-American policies of BRICS. That's a group of major emerging economies that include Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The bloc of nations is meeting this week in Brazil. We'll see how this could affect the board here in the coming weeks. Well, making money while learning new skills. In this week's Trade Up, we're highlighting a skilled trade program giving Michigan workers a double-barreled boost. We're going to talk about apprenticeships at a local community college. First, though, we're going to show you one program in action, combining classroom instruction and on-the-job training. Here's Kim Gill.
You can see the power of Michigan manufacturing inside the PCS company. There's drilling, hammering, and cranes lifting heavy metal as workers focus on their roles in the American plastics industry.
We supply to molders and mold makers. So anybody that brings plastic parts to the industry would have a need that PCS can satisfy.
Angela Elsey is the president of PCS. The company makes mold bases, part of the production for things like the insides of a deodorant stick or the otter boxes, the cases many Apple customers use to protect their phones.
So a lot going on here in Fraser, Michigan.
Elsey knows the future of manufacturing depends on a pipeline of skilled workers. One reason PCS teamed up with the Macomb County Community College to create an apprenticeship program.
I really enjoy learning new things every single day, keep me moving, and I'm always down to do something new or try something new here.
From the day they'll come in and they'll work on a certain schedule that we have set for a 3-year program to complement what they're learning in class.
We spoke with 2 apprentices. Both tell us they're excited to learn new skills. And for 37-year-old John Martinez, the program has become a key turning point in his life.
I was not good in school like when I was younger, so this has given me actual goal to do better and better myself, especially starting a family pretty soon.
A new beginning for Martinez, and the apprentice coordinator at Macomb Community College points out skilled trades can offer brighter futures for others who may not know what to expect.
There's still a common misconception that these are, kind of dirty and dark environments in which people work. Kind of get that impression that when you're an apprentice, you've got this ball and chain on your ankle dragging around the shop floor. It's not like that anymore.
The more modern environment at PCS is one reason the community college chose PCS as one of its hubs to help more people get into the skilled trades.
I hope that they feel enriched. I hope they feel strong and confident and ready to take on the world.
And one of our final questions to each apprentice, how do you feel about the process so far?
I'm enjoying going through the process of school, learning all the things, and getting something out of it.
It's a great opportunity. You meet a lot of cool people. You can't go wrong with a trade.
That was Kimberly Gill reporting. That is just one example of how Macomb Community College teams up with local businesses for training purposes. The school says it's currently working with about 125 employers and 770 apprenticeship students. That's a big program with a lot of opportunities. So to talk more about those opportunities is Vicki Gordon. You saw her in that story. She's the apprentice coordinator over at MCC, Macomb Community College. First of all, what I love about this is that you are showing people, exactly as your soundbite said, that this is not that what we had pictured in our mind, that there was some dirty floor shop that you're getting greasy and sweaty all day long. This is something that most people don't think it is.
It is, yeah. A lot of people have a misconception about trades, as I said in the piece. They are, influenced by family members possibly being in the trades in the past. Just the term apprenticeship sounding a little bit antiquated and not, the modern training model that it is. So it's evolved over the years, and a lot of the shops that I work with are exactly as you see them there. They're very highly skilled, highly technical jobs and lucrative careers in which students can really earn a great living. People, I should say, can really earn a great living and be very successful and support their families.
I know that the training runs the gamut. I mean, you can learn, you can get trained for almost any kind of blue-collar job, can't you?
Yes, yep. There's, well, with the Department of Labor, they have over 1,000 apprenticeable occupations. And even if an employer wanted to train, set up a training model in an occupation that isn't apprenticeable, that's something we still service employers for.
Really?
So we can really set up a curriculum for any kind of a job for which we, have the programming, which really is almost every trade that you can think of. We have the classes for it.
So we've been having this conversation for a couple of years now about the growing demand for these types of jobs. Are we seeing the numbers reflect that in terms of, we know the need is there, are the students, are the workers coming along with it?
Yes, they are. Well, with the larger companies like the big three, those are incumbent workers that come into the apprenticeship programs. But a lot of the smaller shops like PCS, a lot of the different tool and die shops around the college, other suppliers, they are putting on apprentices in droves, and they are having a really good luck finding people. The name of the skilled trades, the opportunities. All of those things now are things that young people and their parents are aware of, getting educated on. A lot of the movements around Macomb, the manufacturing day, the college gets very involved in a lot of that as well. So getting the message out there and letting people know what's going on and that these are careers that are an alternate to, perhaps going into school to be a teacher or, and I'm not going to poo-poo higher education because there's lots of jobs for which you need a bachelor's degree. But these are jobs that you are doing education and training that's comparable to the kind of time you'd spent pursuing a bachelor's degree.
Gotcha. Now, in terms of, let's say this, there is a big difference between an apprenticeship and an internship.
Big difference.
Right? Huge difference. What is it?
Huge difference. An apprenticeship is a job. Yeah, so you are not just placed into an apprenticeship, you have to work for it. You have to prepare a resume, you have to, get your interviewing skills polished. Show that you have some skin in the game. It's nice to be able to come in showing maybe that you had some career and technical classes in high school, which we know those are, popping up again and very popular in Macomb County high schools now.
I don't understand why they went away.
Yeah, I don't really get that either. Yeah, that was it's an interesting, and we could talk about this for hours, but it's an interesting to look back to when I was in school or you were in school to where
said you had to go to
it went
college
down and now
it's
now it's coming back up again. So it's pretty exciting. But yeah, the movement, letting people know what's available, what's out there, taking some classes too is a good way to do it. So not just in high school, but if you graduate from high school and you're interested in an apprenticeship. It's nice to go and take some classes in a trade area.
Oh, okay.
See what you're, get some classes on your resume, get your skills up, really be able to speak to that employer. And saying that they took those classes at Macomb Community College too goes a long way. We've been doing skilled trades for, probably 70 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
In terms of the age of student, does it matter? Can you start a brand new apprenticeship when you're 50 years old?
Yeah. We have students that start apprenticeships at 50 years old. Yeah.
Really?
Some of my apprentices out of those 770, and they're all working, right? Because they're jobs and they're being sent to us by their employer. Some of them are in their 60s even.
No kidding.
Yeah, changing careers or maybe just getting that opportunity later in life and finally, going for it because they're tired of what they've been doing. So 18 to 65.
Wow. So you mentioned something earlier that let's say there's a company out there that is realizing that the workforce is dwindling. They can start an apprenticeship program through you?
Yeah, well, we don't.
With your help?
With my help, yep. We don't run an apprenticeship program at the college. We're the authorized provider of the related instruction, which is a federal requirement if you have a registered apprenticeship.
I see.
But we have a lot of the resources. We have relationships with Michigan Works that has an intermediary service that can register companies' programs. So it's a very dynamic process where we really give that employer all the support that they need to get going.
It seems like a great opportunity, though, if they know that there's a problem on the horizon here.
It really is. And we've seen companies coming back to the table. I think when first coming out of the recession, there was a lot of confusion. I think companies thought that, why doesn't the community college have an army of tool and die makers for hire? Well, we know what happened with the schools and the awareness of the trades. And so all of that has now turned a corner. and employers are starting to realize, hey, we do have to grow our own, and that's really the way to do it, to get them invested in you. You're investing in them, the loyalty, the long-term. Employers are looking for people that, not necessarily that are 18, but people that are going to stay with them over the long term.
Make it a career, not just a job.
Yeah, make it a career. Yeah, and even if that career is just 10 more years, employers are happy to have it.
Vicki, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah,
Very insightful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
It has been. Okay, so here at Local 4, we've actually partnered with Carhartt as we highlight these trade-up stories. This is all about shining a light on opportunities, as Vicki was talking about, in the skilled trades. We want your story ideas. We would love you to nominate people making a difference in these fields. Just scan that QR code there in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, or you can go to clickondetroit.com/trade-up. All right, well, what's coming up? Folks for Consumer Reports are telling us why you really should be washing your brand new clothes before you wear them. Do you do that, Vicki?
I do.
Good. And the best detergents to use when you're doing it when we come back. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. In the 8 a.m. hour of Local 4 Live, we learned the importance of washing your new clothes before you put them on. Consumer Reports also gave some examples of the best detergents to use, but it still begs the question, are certain ones better than the other ones? I had a pretty long conversation with Rich Handel with Consumer Reports about that very topic. Richard Handel, Consumer Reports, joining us for a little bit more of a conversation here about this study. I see all the detergents behind you, so let me start with that question there. I was surprised to hear that the type of detergent actually makes a difference here. I thought you could just wash with almost anything and it's good enough. No?
Well, it all really depends on what you're washing and how dirty it is, but you can see in our ratings of 60 some odd detergents, there is a range of performance from about as good as water to really, really, excellent cleaning performance on difficult stains.
Well, again, let's kind of talk about your top ones. What's at the top and why?
Historically, the top brands have been a toss-up between Tide and Purcell. They sell multiple types of detergents under those brands. So I think it's, some are more, free and natural or gentle. A lot of people who have skin sensitivities or are more interested in sustainability look towards those. In general, they don't perform as well. So I think it's, take a look at the ratings and, see which one works best for you.
When you look at the study, it obviously, I think it's not common sense, but maybe people didn't always know that you really should wash the clothes before you put them on. Did you find a lot of people were surprised by that?
I think some people are very conscious about that, and they're very adamant about having to wash everything before it touches them. But you're in the store, you see this nice shirt, it's crisp, it's fresh looking. That's to get you to buy it. To do that, sometimes there are chemicals or sizing agents, so it's, it's nice and flat, no wrinkles, it's bright. They use these things to improve the look and in the store, and also these items get shipped. They're transferred from a factory to a distributor to the store. It's in the back of the warehouse. Who knows what's back there and going on? And then they end up on the floor, for sale. Looks great, but it's a great idea to wash it before you put it against your skin, especially if you have sensitivities.
Yeah. Is there a difference in the quality of the retailer, or does not really matter?
When you go to buy something, it's always going to look its best because they want to sell it to you.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily know if it's the retailer. Some depending on the retail, they have a look, right? Whether it looks like it's a used clothing store or it looks like it's a ritzy, fancy store.
Yeah.
They all go through the same process of manufacturing, sizing, warehousing, distributing, and transportation. So they all see those things. It's not any different, the chain.
There was an interesting part of the report that's discussed that when you do wash it for the first time, you need to make sure it's, with light colors on a cold cycle. I have been the victim of kind of forgetting about that sometimes, especially with blue jeans, where that dye will just run and ruin so many things.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. The thing with jeans are that even if it's not a dye transfer, but if you leave the load in your washer machine after the cycle, it's sitting against, let's say, your nice shirt, it'll transfer just because it's sitting there wet, and it wicks away the dye into the other item. And you'll see that, you'll have a nice white shirt that now looks sort of tie-dyed, but not uniform. And not in a good way.
Yeah, not intentional. Before I let you go, what was kind of the biggest takeaway on this study for you guys?
Well, I guess, we try to inform the public. So like you said in the beginning, not many people realize it's a good idea to clean these items. They don't, you don't recognize what the products go through. So they probably know it, but it's a reminder to do that.
And sometimes it's not just a reminder. It's you probably know you should do this, but now we're telling you it. You really do need to do it.
Yeah, and it really, think about where the garment's sitting. If it's against your skin, you definitely want to do it. If it's a jacket or a sport coat, maybe less so because you got 2 layers before it's touching your skin.
Yeah.
And so it really depends on you and how comfortable you are about it.
Yeah, the undergarments you're definitely washing.
I think so.
All right, Richard Handel, Consumer Reports, thanks so much for your time today.
Welcome. Take care.
Well, by the way, Consumer Reports also recommends skipping the fabric softener. They say not only can it irritate sensitive skin, but it can also leave residue in your washer, encourage mold growth, and over time, even make bedding and clothing more flammable. A live look at Texas right now. When we come back, an update on the massive flooding happening over there, as well as recovery efforts as they continue to look for survivors, crossing their fingers that they can find some. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. Let's take a live look in Texas, where many are recovering from the tragedy of what's described as a 100-year flood that killed at least 81 people. Weather experts say torrential rains raising the level of the Guadalupe River more than just 20 feet in 45 minutes. I want to show you some video here that was given to us by the El Paso Fire Department. This shows the dramatic moments that teams rescued 2 flood victims and brought them to shore as they were fighting raging floodwaters. According to that department, the 2 people were clinging to a tree before they were saved. We're going to keep you up to date as rescuers work throughout the day over on our website at clickondetroit.com. Well, as Ashley and I have talked about many times, one of the worst things about severe weather like that is that many people don't recognize how devastating Mother Nature can be, not only in terms of what it can do, but how fast it can happen. And you look at that.
Well, that's exactly right.
Right.
I mean, well, and the one thing that I really want to point out when we talk about flash flood watches, which we have here, you know, I don't want to say regularly, but it's not uncommon for us to get flash flood watches with heavy rains. That flash flooding is the biggest weather-related killer in the United States. That's more than tornadoes and hurricanes. Yes. And so I just don't think that we give it, you know, the, I don't know if props is the right word, but, you know, like the severity in our head.
Well, I think people have a hard time imagining it, right? Because
Right.
you look at something like that, it almost seems like a dam burst. There was so much water.
Right. And it was, I mean, they were talking 15 inches plus rain in that
Right.
area. I mean, it was a historic rainfall there, but you get close to rivers and you see them, you know, go over their banks. Or it just becomes really dangerous because it's the power of the flooding and the speed that you're dealing with there in such a short amount of time in order to take shelter. So, yeah, still thoughts and prayers going to folks down into Texas because they're not really done with the rain quite yet.
Oh, there's more today.
Absolutely. So, and obviously the recovery efforts and, you know, rescue efforts still underway. So let's go ahead and get to our local forecast because we can't complain with cloud cover, and definitely the cooler conditions are probably welcomed by a lot of folks. 70 degrees right now in the city, same in Ann Arbor, 64 in Pontiac, and 72 in Monroe. Northerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. And so as we look at the temperature change, it's noticeable. I mean, talk about Lapeer, 22 degrees cooler right now than this time yesterday, and about 10 degrees cooler at Metro Airport. So I'm going to say anywhere from 10 to almost 25 degrees cooler now than where we were just 24 hours ago. Out the door forecast, clouds sticking around throughout the rest of the morning. And then once we get to mid-afternoon, I would say you start to see a few breaks here and there. Clouds went out today, but partly sunny as you get in the later part of the afternoon and evening. 81, the forecasted high closer to Metro Airport. Some areas won't reach 80. We'll be on either side of it, really, across southeastern Michigan, with the exception of Port Huron North. That's where we're probably only topping out in the low 70s today. And so tonight we fall with clearing skies to 62. Open the windows. Northeasterly wind 3 to 8 miles per hour. I mean, that's a refreshing summer night. And then speaking of summer, well, we got to talk baseball weather. Tigers back home, a new stretch against Tampa Bay. 81 degrees for today's high, 85 tomorrow. Now, we'll hit that before that first pitch because these are evening games, but Wednesday's a day game, and there will be the chance for some showers and storms with a warm front. So as we look at the computer model data, that warm front starts to cross the region as we head throughout the day Wednesday, and that does bring those moisture chances there. But right now we're not looking at a severe threat, so that could always change in the next 2 days, but it might just be more nuisance rain than anything. And then very isolated chances on Thursday and Friday before a better chance for some scattered showers and storms on Saturday. So your full forecast, seasonal mid-80s, stick with us through about Thursday. Then we crank up that heat and humidity, getting back into the upper 80s on Friday and Saturday.
It seems like humidity is worse than heat at this point.
You're not wrong there. I mean, that's like you step outside and you just feel how thick the air is. Yeah.
Not a good hair day.
No, not at all.
Thanks, Ash. When we come back, and Tati from Live at the D is going to be joining us to talk about what's happening on their show that kicks off in 1 hour and 6 minutes. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. As we've said all morning long, we've been following breaking news, which is that nursing strike happening over in Mount Clemens. McLaren and Macomb, the nurses say that they are not paid well enough and there are staffing issues. The hospital says they walked away from the negotiation table. That's that breaking news situation. The other breaking news, Tati's here.
Yes, I'm so glad to be with you.
Maybe it's not breaking because it was scheduled. I mean, Rundown says Tati's going to be here.
We'll take it. We'll take what we can get.
Live in the D. What's happening today?
All right, it's Monday, so that means we have Music Monday.
Yep.
We've got a great Go For It story that we want to share with you guys. But what I'm really looking forward to is What's the Buzz, Nick? You want to know why?
What is it?
Because we were talking about traffic etiquette and especially how things get a little wonky and crazy during the summertime.
Oh, are we talking about the zipper merge?
Not the zipper merge. We're talking about people who don't use their turn signals.
Oh.
We're talking about zipper merges are a whole other thing too. I avoid them like the plague. I'm sure you do as well. We're talking about people who honk too much. What is proper driving etiquette in this day and age?
What's the answer?
I think that be careful because there are too many crazy people on the road.
No kidding.
That's what I would say.
It's been brutal, right?
It has been.
Okay.
It has
I
been.
rarely, if ever, will honk at somebody unless I'm trying to get their attention that they're like drifting into my lane.
I agree.
Other than that, like it's a road rage issue that's just waiting to happen.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Stay away from it.
So we're going to talk about it today on the show, and I'm looking forward to it.
How do you feel about roundabouts?
Unless you're... Does that say it all? Does the pause say it all? I don't love them, but I will say this. I can see how they can be efficient, but not enough people know how to use them
That's
effectively.
the problem, right? There's so many people that are scared of them, but they are effective.
Yes.
They are very effective.
Right. There's a few in Ann Arbor that I kind of learned how to navigate pretty skillfully. But do I hope we see them in Detroit? Not so much.
Oh, they're coming.
Are they coming?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm
gullible.
If we said it here, it must be happening.
I'm gullible.
All
Yeah,
right,
no, so
deal.
it's going to be an exciting show.
Live in the D in 1 hour and 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Counting down for you. Thank you for joining us here on Local 4 Live. More news and weather ahead on Local 4 Plus. And as always, 24/7 on clickondetroit.com. Welcome to your work week. Make it a great Monday, everybody.